Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a fantastic week so far. For those of you who are celebrating Christmas, I hope you're getting excited, coming up soon. Welcome Nolan, our new member. Hi Kyber, Janil, Hasna. Good to see our members in this class. Welcome Carolina, our chat moderator. Students, this is a members chat class. Of course, everybody is welcome to watch. And if you'd like to become a member of our channel, simply click the join button next to the subscribe button. If you don't see that button, you can send me an email to adrian@aehelp.com. If you have any questions about IELTS or about English, just send me an email and I can help you further. Students, this is an IELTS Speaking Part 2 class. This is the cue card. This is the long part. This is the part of the speaking where you have to speak from 1 to 2 minutes on a topic with a few different questions. And we are going to be looking for that Band 9 training today. So how do you get those really high band marks in this cue card? That's what I'm here to help you do. And members, I will also give you a chance to practice today as well. So of course we've been utilizing this new feature in the live classes of being able to actually voice call and interact, and I definitely want to give you a chance to do that today as well. Welcome Hoi Tren and Pritam Das. Nice to see many new members coming into the class. That's fantastic. Okay. All right, everyone. Really quickly, our materials, these lessons are presented by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. Visit us there. For the general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. Both of these websites have tons and tons of materials, videos, strategies with interactive courses, applications for your phone. They're here to help you get the band scores that you need for your IELTS exam. Just click this big red button here. That's right above my head. To join now, to join the premium package. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. And as you can see, we are an official IELTS test registration center and certified agents. So you're in great hands with us. A general IELTS, it's the green background like this. Again, just click this big red button. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. Doesn't cost much at all. So it's like a 10th or a 20th of the cost of the IELTS exam. So it's well worth it. Invest 10%, 20% to do much better at the 100%. Logical sense. All right, everyone. Again, you've got a discount code here for the websites as well to help you further. And you've got our apps, Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help, that you can download from your app stores. All right, students, we've got more classes right now, Speaking Part 2, followed by Speaking Part 3, which is basically a continuation of Speaking Part 2. And then we'll have some writing, reading, and more speaking tomorrow and the day after. That's right, we've got classes on Christmas as well. Okay, everyone, so let's get into today's specific question topic here. So this is IELTS Speaking Part 2. And this is a speaking class, so students, make sure to speak and repeat. So copy my intonation, copy my pronunciation. You might have noticed that I'm quite an animated person and I'm a bit, let's say, melodramatic. That means that I really verbalize or vocalize the information. You want to copy that, okay? That's really good to do for the IELTS exam. So what I'd like you to do is make sure to speak and repeat. And when you're doing this, very importantly, let's triple star this. Even copy that 10%, I want to say exaggerated, but it's better to say melodramatic tone and intonation. It is actually very good. I was going to say good, but very good to be slightly over enthusiastic for your IELTS speaking. Members, do you understand what I mean by that? So you want to be a little bit over enthusiastic. So there's kind of a range of, we can even call it confidence, where a student might go in and be like, my name's Adrian. Here's my ID. And then the extreme opposite, where you might be like, yeah, my name's Adrian Smith, and just call me Adrian. Here's my identification. I actually got this new passport last month just for this IELTS exam, and I'm super excited to be here. Woo! So that's maybe a bit too much. Don't do that, okay? But that's kind of like the 0 to 200% for confidence and being enthusiastic. I say be 110%, okay? So be just a little bit more than your energetic self, and that will actually help your score a lot. That will help you a lot, okay? So I like how Caroline is getting a good laugh out of that. I'm sure there's the odd person that goes in there and gets really excited. Maybe they had one too many coffees before the exam because they were feeling a bit tired or nervous, and then they had maybe 3-4 cups of triple espresso, and they go in there and they just get wild. I'm sure it happens. But anyway, you want to find that 110%, okay? That's what they do for movies and TV shows. So when you're watching a movie or a TV show, actors are usually about 110% of normal, okay? Because that actually seems normal for people, okay? All right, Kyber says, I copy your speaking style and behavior even in real life just because I love it. Awesome, Kyber. I hope that's paying off for your day-to-day interactions. That's good. All right. So that's kind of my tip today. So when you're practicing this part 2, part 3, make sure to do that. Okay, so let's get into this speaking part 2 question here, okay? So first thing first, step 1, read the question carefully twice, okay? So let's do that right now. So you're in your IELTS speaking exam. The examiner says, okay, this is the end of speaking part 1. Now we will continue with speaking part 2. I will show you some questions. You will have 1 minute to look at these questions, think about your answer. You can take notes in the 1 minute if you wish. You have your pen and your note paper beside you. I will tell you when to start, when to stop. You will have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. And then they'll even read the topic statement. So they'll say, discuss a time when you had to cancel or change your schedule. Your 1 minute preparation time begins now. So even though the examiner has read this, you read it again and again. So discuss a time when you, not somebody else, had to cancel or change. So it can be 2 options here, cancel or change, your schedule, okay? So discuss a time when you had to. It wasn't optional. It's not that you wanted to, but you had to change or cancel your schedule. So what was your schedule? Why did you have to change or cancel it? How did this affect you? What can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? What was your schedule? Why did you have to change or cancel it? How did this affect you? What can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? Okay, hopefully we have lots of clarity here. Now, the next step, students, okay, is to identify the category of your speaking here. Okay, so step number 2 is identify the category, which means, are we talking about a person, place, object, event, or an idea? Okay, and then also identify the tense, so plus the common tense used in your response. So is it past, present, future, which one? Okay, often you don't need to talk about all three, and you shouldn't talk about all three. Okay. And if you do that, you might be off topic, okay? Welcome back to our group of members, Buckrut. All right. So in this case, what are we talking about, students? Are we talking about a person, place, object, or an event? What are we primarily focusing on, members? Let me know. Okay, and hopefully you very, very quickly will come to the same conclusion. Kyber says it's an event, and we're mostly talking about the past and the future. Yeah, very good, Kyber. Okay, and it's fast like that, Kyber, right? So we decide this very, very quickly. Okay, so in this case, we are talking about an event. And we are talking mostly in the past, that's the primary, and some future. Okay, so most of this conversation is me talking about what my event was, so that I had to change or that I had to cancel, the reasons for it, what happened, and then I add a little bit about in the future, what can I do to avoid this, right? And when we're talking about an event, we need to discuss a few different key elements, okay? So we need to discuss the time, the location, so when it happened, where it happened. We need to discuss the attendees, so who was there, right? Who were the people involved? The activities, okay? So what were the actual events that happened, the actions that happened, and the importance. All right, so for example, 3 weeks ago, I had a dentist appointment downtown at my dental clinic with Dr. Jones. However, my parents had their 50th anniversary on the same day. Okay, so I had to change this appointment. It was very important for me to celebrate such a monumental day with my parents. Okay, so this isn't our part 2 response yet. I'm just showing you basically the concept of this event, time, location, attendees, activities, importance. So as long as you keep these in mind, you can be pretty quick and smooth at coming up with an answer, right? So here is my time. Notice the time. Let's do that. So 3 weeks ago. Okay. Notice the location. And I'm literally just stringing it together in this order, right? So notice the location, downtown at my dental clinic. Okay. Notice the attendees. Okay. With Dr. Jones, however, my parents. Okay, those are the attendees. All right. Notice the activities. Okay. And with the activities, you've got a pretty long list of options. I just chose one here. So there we have our activities. Okay. And then, of course, the importance, right? So what's the meaning? Why is it meaningful for me, right? Here we go with the importance. There we go. Okay. So here you can clearly see that order, and it makes a lot of logical sense to your listener. Okay, so 3 weeks ago, I had a dentist appointment downtown at my dental clinic with Dr. Jones. However, my parents had their 50th anniversary on the same day, so I had to change this appointment. It was very important for me to celebrate such a monumental day with my parents, so I decided to reschedule for a later date, right? And then I can keep going, okay? All right, and notice how, of course, I'm using mostly the past tense to accurately answer this question. I hope everybody was doing some repetition as well, okay? Make sure you keep this order, students. So I see some of you have given me the key elements here. However, keep this order, okay? It just makes a lot of sense. All right, is that clear for everyone? All right, so I know we have some new members joining in as well. Is that clear, everyone? So Asma, Janil, Jyoti, Bakrat, is it clear that when you talk about an event, this is the logical kind of step-by-step that your mind has to follow? Now, here, of course, you realize that I didn't prepare anywhere near 1 minute. I just kind of came up with this, and this is all imaginary, so I'm making all of this up, okay? This is all imaginary. Okay, Janil gives me a nice big blue check mark. All right, good. So that's what you want to do. Okay, and then in your next step, so step number 3, think about 2 to 3 possible choices. Okay. Okay, don't pick the first one. Don't necessarily pick the first one that comes to mind, as it may not be the best. Okay, so that's a very common mistake where students choose just one topic. They think about one, like what I did with the dentist appointment, and then they just stick with that one and they go with it and they get into all sorts of trouble. That's not ideal. What you want to do is you want to choose 2 or 3, and you want to think about a few different points. So you want to make sure that it's something that's original. Okay, not every student is saying it. So maybe dentist appointment, maybe a little bit too common. Okay, it's easy to talk about. Basically, think about it like easy vocabulary, and there should be lots of content. So you do not run out of ideas. Okay, so you don't keep repeating yourself. That's a common mistake as well. All right. Okay, what kind of ideas? Well, I just showed you the dentist. Bakrat's saying, how about an audition for College Drama Society? So audition for a play, sure. Okay. I don't know how you would, well, you probably won't be able to reschedule that. That would just be a cancellation. All right, Kyber says, reschedule business travel. Okay, business trip. Okay, Jyoti says, water sport. Because of bad weather. Yeah, that's a good one. All right. Carolina says, why not an English exam since you're already in the IELTS because of the flu? Yeah, because of getting sick. Sure. Okay. Those are all great. Asma says it could be a passport application because of why, right? So here, Asma, you're always thinking of why you might have to delay your passport application, okay? Maybe you lost your pictures, okay, that you took for your passport application, so you had to retake the pictures and you had to book another appointment with the photographer. That could be a good reason, absolutely. Okay, students, so we've got a few good ones here, I think. Let's do this one right now. I'm going to do a quick veto here just so we can move along. Let's do this one. So let's do water sport because of bad weather. So let's say that you had some water sport planned. Let's say, what should that water sport be? Any ideas, students? What kind of a water sport? I've got a couple in mind myself, but I don't want to have all the fun. So what kind of water sport might you have to cancel because of bad weather? I think there's a few different ones that you could go with there. Okay. Kyber says, how about swimming? Yeah, swimming could be good. Janelle says water polo. Mal says surfing. Carolina says basketball. There is water basketball, Carolina, but here it's some kind of a water sport. Surfing, bad weather might actually be good for you. Okay, Kyber says a swimming competition. Yeah, that could be possible. Swimming competitions are often indoors, though, as well. All right. How about fishing? Okay, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more here. So be always creative with your ideas. So fishing trip. Okay, it's a very common one that a fishing trip would get canceled because of bad weather, right? Fishing, if there's a lightning storm with big waves, would not be a lot of fun, right? I don't know how many of you fish, but I definitely don't like fishing in a storm. Okay, all right. So fishing trip. Due to storm. All right. Okay, let's do that. And we'll build some vocabulary with this as well. Okay, so we've got our notes. Okay. Let's say it was in October. I'm just going to go through the time really quickly. I don't want to spend too much on this. So the time, it could be October, early morning, let's say 5 a.m. start. Okay, on a Saturday, sure. Okay, location. Give me some ideas here, students. So where were we going for our fishing trip? Okay, where were we going? So let's do the Indian Ocean. Why not? I'm sure there's lots of great fishing that happens on the Indian Ocean. And the Indian Ocean is actually very famous for stormy weather, for having some pretty incredible storms. So, okay. Danielle says it could be the lake as well. All right. Any popular places along the Indian Ocean? Can we be more specific? I'm not too familiar with the fishing hotspots around the Indian Ocean, so maybe some of our viewers from India can give us an idea of where some popular places are around the Indian Ocean to go for fishing. Buckrat says Vancouver near a lake. Buckrat, Vancouver, Victoria, Vancouver Island, we've got lots of great fishing. A lot of it is ocean fishing. We love doing ocean fishing. Okay, so Janil says let's do Dumas. Thank you, Janil. Okay, so Indian Ocean, Dumas, 20 km offshore. Okay, we can even give some more specific information of where we go fishing. Okay. All right, so that's our location. The attendees, who was going? Dad, brother, uncle, uncle's fishing boat maybe. Okay, so those are the attendees. All right. Now the activities. Okay, so maybe it's an annual trip. All right, 3 days, and then storm. All right, and if our fishing trip is canceled, maybe we decide to do something else. So what could we do instead of our fishing trip? That could be a fun, yeah, getting boats ready. Maybe you're renting some equipment as well. So what could be some other activity that we could do instead of fishing if the weather is stormy? Okay, think quickly here, students. So think about some indoor activities. Obviously, you're going to be stuck indoors if the weather is really bad. All right. What can you do? You don't have to overcomplicate it, students. So maybe you just watch movies, go to restaurants. Okay. All right. Okay, Janelle says maybe doing some skating indoors, so some indoor sports, right? Okay, and then the importance. All right, yeah, maybe some museums or theaters, Buckrat, exactly. You did some indoor sightseeing activities like museums, right? And the importance, it's maybe some time for you to bond with your family, right? Catch up on news. Okay. So you've got your notes here. Now you're ready to have your first sentence ready. That's your next step. So this is your step 4. And then step 5 is your first sentence. Always have that ready. Okay. So step 5, last October. So there's my time, right? I had to delay a family fishing trip at Dumas on the Indian Ocean due to bad weather. Okay. All right. So there we go, students. That's how it works. And I'm purposefully moving through this quite fast so you can kind of see how all of this comes together in your mind in that 1 minute. And then your examiner will say something like, okay, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. And then you say, okay, last October I had to delay a family fishing trip at Dumas on the Indian Ocean due to bad weather. This So I'm going to give the response here in this 1 to 2 minute time frame. Give me some sentences, members, using this information here, okay? So let's use the notes, okay? And then just basically color or fill in the notes with some information, all right? Now, you should kind of go in this order, but it doesn't have to be the exact order. It's important that you keep returning to this information, all right? So this is an annual fishing expedition that I go on with my dad, brothers, and uncle every October for some family bonding. Usually we go during the first weekend of the month and do 3 days of fishing starting at 5:30 in the morning. We rent a boat and bring our own fishing rods. Okay? So I'm just kind of visualizing here. My brothers, my uncle, my dad together going on this annual fishing trip. Okay? All right. Kyber says about 2 months ago on the 14th of October, I had to reschedule my plan for going on a fishing trip because of severe weather. It's fine, yeah, Kyber, or severe weather conditions. Severe weather is okay, all right? Okay. Yeah, Rumi, it's your internet connection. If it's not good, then adjust your screen. Janelle says, a time when I had canceled my fishing trip with my father due to Gulab hurricane was a month back. Okay, Janelle, so you actually know a hurricane that was going on, okay? So we rent a boat and bring our own fishing rods. However, this year we had to cancel our trip due to an unexpected lightning storm, and we had to make other plans to enjoy each other's company. We were all set to go when suddenly a storm front moved in, and all boats had to stay in the harbor. At first, we were all quite disappointed, but later we decided to do some other activities instead. So rather than fishing, we decided to do some sightseeing around the city and visit some local museums. We also went to some good restaurants, and in the end had a great time catching up and sharing some stories. Okay, so here, if I'm like, okay, well, what do I say now, right? Then I can look at my notes, so I can see if I'm missing anything here, all right? I can include it, so like I didn't say that it's 20 kilometers offshore, it might be a bit late for that. And then I can also look at the questions. Students, it's really, really important to look back at the questions, okay? So where should I put this? Let's put it here, okay? Make sure to look back at the questions and answer all of the questions on the card. Okay, it's very, very important. All right. So here, what was your schedule? I talked about that. Why did you have to change or cancel it? I said I canceled it. Okay. How did this affect you? I talked about that a little bit because I said we were disappointed, right? And then here, what can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? Okay, so here, I want to make sure that I include that, all right? I should not forget about that, all right? So for next year, we may be able to avoid a similar situation from occurring by paying careful attention to the weather forecast and perhaps booking a backup fishing trip elsewhere later in the year. Okay? And then finish the idea. So even though we had to cancel our fishing, it was still a fun trip in the end, since we got to enjoy each other's company. Okay, so you kind of just wrap it up, give it that bit of conclusion, all right? Okay, so here we go, students. Repeat after me, practice, because after this, students, I'm going to call you, and I see that Jainil, Khyber, Bakrat, you've got lots of great components for this speaking. That's great. Keep that in mind, because I'm going to do some calling, okay, on our website, and you'll have a chance. I'll pick some of you to actually practice this part too, and you can stick to this fishing trip response, okay? So here we go. Let's look at the question again. All right. So discuss a time when you had to cancel or change your schedule. What was your schedule? Why did you have to change or cancel it? How did this affect you? What can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? All right, here we go. So, your 1-minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking. Last October, I had to delay a family fishing trip at Dumas on the Indian Ocean due to bad weather. This is an annual fishing expedition that I go on with my dad, brothers, and uncle every October for some family bonding. Usually we go during the first weekend of the month and do 3 days of fishing starting at 5:30 in the morning. We rent a boat and bring our own fishing rods. However, this year we had to cancel our trip due to an unexpected lightning storm, and we had to make other plans to enjoy each other's company. We were all set to go when suddenly a storm front moved in and all boats had to stay in the harbor. At first, we were all quite disappointed, but later we decided to do some other activities instead. So rather than fishing, we decided to do some sightseeing around the city and visit some local museums. We also went to some good restaurants and in the end had a great time catching up and sharing some stories. For the next year, we may be able to avoid a similar situation from occurring by paying more careful attention to the weather forecast and perhaps booking a backup fishing trip somewhere else later in the year. Even though we had to cancel our fishing, it was still a fun trip in the end since we got to enjoy each other's company. So since we got to enjoy hanging out together, I don't want to repeat the same words, okay? All right. So, and then the examiner will say, okay, your time is up, and we'll now continue with part 3, and I'll ask you some questions related to this topic. So again, you have 1 to 2 minutes to speak. If you answer all of the questions in the 1 minute, then, or in 90 seconds, then the examiner will realize that, especially when you have this kind of a conclusion, like in the end, it was still a really fun trip, and then they'll stop you and they will continue on. So, members, let's do this. So now you have a chance to answer. You can stick with this fishing trip and give it your own version or your own twist. Okay. So just like usual, I'm going to go to the website here. Go to my account in my website. Okay. Please do the same. So here is the website. And then in the website, as long as you've created an account with the green or red button, you can click the My Student account. Okay, right there. So we're in the My Student account and that tour. And then here I have the Student Partner Speaking just above my head. Okay, so I'm in my Student Partner Speaking, and then I accept that I'm going to be nice. I'm in here, and we've got some people in here already. So we've got Mijanur, Mohammed, Jashan. So members, please log in to your My Student account on the website. Go through the same steps that I just went through. Okay. And then once I see that some of you have logged in here, I'll give you the chance, as long as you feel comfortable with it, okay? So no pressure here, but it's a great way to build your confidence. And of course, I will give you feedback, so I'll tell you what you are doing well, what you can do to improve your speaking, so I'll analyze your speaking. And you'll also be helping lots of other students by presenting your speaking, okay? So I can see that we have some other people already volunteering here on this, but I'm waiting for some members first. So hopefully we'll get some members in here first. If members don't come in here, I'll take some other volunteers, some other viewers that could be watching as well. Okay. So again, everyone, to get to this point, what you need to do is you need to register a free or paid account at aehelp.com. Okay. And then log into your My Student account. Click on Student Partner Speaking. This is a really important one. Enable your microphone and your speaker in the browser. Okay. If you don't do that, we won't be able to communicate. All right. And then message me in the chat, actually not the class, so I want to volunteer. Okay. All right, and then I'll ping you, so I'll get a hold of you. All right, let's see who is in here. All right, we've got Jashan and Shardor in here already. Still no members though. Bandita is in here as well, so we've got some regular students. Jyoti, Carolina, Nufal, Rashika, get in there, right? Okay, well, until we wait, hopefully some members will come in. If there is a member in here and I'm not catching you, let me know, okay? Say, hey, I'm a member, I'm in here. You can put that into the chat, okay? All right, so I think Jashan was the first one here. Jashan says, I'd like to volunteer. Okay, Jashan, you can give it a shot. So are you ready? Always happy to have some volunteers. Okay, so this is going to be a speaking part 2. Basically, I'm just going to start you off as soon as we connect, all right? So we'll go over the question and then I'll start you off. Okay, Jashan says, I'm ready. All right, Jashan, let's do it. So I'm going to call Jashan and we'll get going on this part 2. Hi, Jashan. I can hear some movement. Are you there, Jashan?
Yes,
Hi, Jashan. How are you doing?
I'm nice. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for volunteering. So have you been watching the class?
Yes,
That's fantastic. Okay, so you know what we're up to. We're doing IELTS Speaking Part 2 cue card. Okay, so I'm going to read the cue card again, and then I'll tell you to start, and then once you're ready, just begin, and I'll give you feedback after. Sounds good?
yes, okay.
Okay, cool. So discuss a time when you had to cancel or change your schedule. What was your schedule? Why did you have to change or cancel it? How did this affect you? What can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? Jashan, your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay. Well, last year, in January, when I had my online examinations, I got a certain notification that all of my examination had been cancelled due to the pandemic and also due to some problems being caused in the network. And all of my schedule was cancelled at that time because I had made a lot of schedule to study, and due to this sudden notification I had to cancel it all. At first I was feeling bit disappointed because I had been preparing for so long, and certainly all the exams had been cancelled, so I got a bit disappointed. But soon after I got happy because it wasn't because we're not having any exams. And first it was great. Then uh, I spent some time with my family as well. I got a chance to spend some time with my family, and um,
Keep going. Okay. Your 1 minute is where your time is up. I will now ask you some questions on this topic. Okay, Jashan, that was good. That was good. All right. And thank you for being so brave for being the volunteer for this part 2. I mean, volunteering for just one question is already kind of a scary task, but volunteering for a whole part 2 is even scarier, right?
yeah.
But you did a good job, and you were really going and going and going, right? Okay, I have a couple of questions for you before I analyze your speech. Do you have notes? So did you actually write down some notes for this?
No.
Okay, so of course that's one. I didn't think you did. Okay, I'll tell you why in a moment. I was actually able to guess that you didn't have notes, but that's fine. Sometimes even when students have notes, they don't look at the notes, right? And you don't have the questions in front of you as well, maybe. So that's obvious as well. Okay, so 2 tools that you have in the real exam that are really useful. One are the questions, they're in front of you, and the other tool that you have are your notes. So it's very, very important to use those 2 tools, the notes and the questions that are in front of you. Your band score would be like a band 6.5 to 7 for your response. I think your fluency is quite good, so you're able to speak without pausing, and you're quite quick at speaking. In fact, you're almost a little bit too fast, so you can speak a little bit slower and then avoid repetition. Okay. Did you notice, Jashan, that you repeated many of your ideas at least twice? Jashan, are you still there? Hello, let me check if Jashan is still there. Something seems to be frozen here. Okay, I think Jashan might have left, or maybe her connection got lost. But anyway, Jashan, if you're still listening, here's a little bit of feedback for you, okay? Jashan, you repeated some of your ideas, okay? So you said that my schedule, or your schedule had been canceled, your schedule had been changed. You had been disappointed. You repeated that a couple of times, and then you said that you got to spend time with your family. So a lot of your ideas you repeated twice, and what you want to do in the future is you want to avoid repeating the same idea over and over, okay? If that happens once, it's not the end of the world, but if you're repeating most of your ideas 2 times, it starts to get awkward because you're not really giving new information, you're not showing enough lexical resource or grammar as well. You also had some grammatical mistakes, so that's why you would get the 6.5 to maybe a 7, okay, because of those grammar mistakes and because of the repetition of a lot of those ideas, all right? So you want to avoid that, and one way to avoid that is to check your notes and to check the questions. One question that we had here, Jashan, was what can you do in the future to avoid a similar situation from happening? Even if it's out of your control because you cannot avoid an exam from being canceled, you have nothing to do with a pandemic, for example, then you have to say that. So you have to say, well, even in the future, a similar situation would be unavoidable because I have no control over exam cancellations at my school. And of course, I have no control over a pandemic. So the only step in the future is to just find some other activity or some other learning to do in this case. Maybe find a new book that could be interesting to read. And then you've answered that question, but it's really important to answer all of the questions on the card, okay, Jashan? So even though I cannot see you, Jashan, that's fine. You did a great job, okay? And thank you so much for being our first volunteer. So everybody just give Jashan a little bit of a clap. She was very, very brave to do that. So Jashan, if you come back and you watch this lesson at a later time, thank you so much for doing that, okay? All right, let's see if we can find another volunteer. And volunteers, don't hang up after you're finished, all right? Let me give you some feedback and we'll have a little bit of dialogue after. Okay. All right. So we have Bandita, Shardor, Maiwand, and Jashan is back here. So here we go. Okay. Oh, yeah. Jashan says, I'm listening. I'll take care of all points for next time. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, so Jashan, just really be careful of that repetition of the same idea over and over again. But your English is quite good. Okay. All right. Let's see, Maiwand. I'm trying to find new students. So Maiwand says, I would like to volunteer. I'm also looking for our members, but I don't really see members in here right now. Okay, so here we go. Maiwand says, I'd like to volunteer. Okay, Maiwand, are you ready? We'll take one more volunteer for today. So Maiwand says, okay, let's see, there we go. Now you can see our little conversation here. So Maiwand says, yes, okay, let's call Maiwand. Hello, Maiwand.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good, thank you. Where in the world are you, Maiwand?
Actually, I'm from Afghanistan. Actually,
Af
I'm from Afghanistan, but I'm living in Turkey. I'm doing good. How about you?
That's great. That's fantastic. So you're born Afghani, but currently you are living in Turkey. I've got a couple
Yes,
of colleagues in Turkey, so that's great.
fantastic.
Okay. All right. So Maiwand, we're just going to do the part 2. Have you been listening to the class?
I do listen.
Okay, so you know what's going on, right?
Yes, I don't
Awesome.
know.
Yeah, otherwise it could be tricky, right? Okay. All right, so let's go back. Again, I'll just read the topic of the question. I'll let you know that your 1 minute preparation time is up, and then when you're ready, you can start, okay?
Sure.
All right. So, discuss a time when you had to cancel or change your schedule. Your 1 minute preparation time is up. Please begin speaking.
Okay. I have it had happened a lot in my life that I rescheduled the time, but today I would like to talk about that happened a few days ago. It happened recently, and it was about my IELTS exam. My plan was to take IELTS exam at the end of January, but because of the university's application, I needed to take IELTS exam early at the beginning of the January, and I changed my mind. It happened suddenly. I didn't think about I because I wasn't ready for. I don't think I'm ready for the exam, but I will do my best. And actually, I have been working on my IELTS exam the since for 2 months, and I have been still working, and hopefully I will take the scores that I want. And oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay, your time is up. I'll stop you there. And now we'll go on to part 3. I'll ask you some questions connected to your response. Okay, so awesome. That was very brave of you. And that happens to a lot of people where they kind of run out of ideas and they're like, oh, what do I say? What do I say? And then they'll say something like sorry, or they'll start repeating ideas, or they'll just stop. Right?
Actually, it was my first time, and I was kind of confused. I
Yeah,
never.
and that's very common. Okay, so that's super common, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It basically happens to 99 out of 100 students the first time that they do this, and that's because part 2 is not really natural. Like nobody really asks us to speak for 1 to 2 minutes on a topic in everyday life, especially not in another language. On random questions. So it's very, very common that this happens. So step number 1 is you want to practice this, right? So especially this part of speaking, it's really important to practice. And today we're talking about an event, right? Like canceling an appointment. But the question could be about a person, a place, an object, or an idea. So what you want to do is you want to practice all of these different kind of categories. It's like one day practice talking about events, the next day practice talking about people. So that's really important. Is that clear?
Yes, it does. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
absolutely. So you started by saying it happened a lot in my life that I rescheduled my time, but today I want to talk about a time that happened a few days ago. I know there are places where they suggest for students to start this way, but don't start this way, okay? Because you're wasting your time. So IELTS examiners know that a lot of students are getting this bad information that they should start their response like, it happens a lot in my life, or actually there are a lot of interesting people that I meet. But this is just called time wasting, and you're using valuable seconds of your response that you're not getting band scores for, and the examiner actually starts to get worried that you're using a memorized response. Is that clear?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so don't do that. So don't start in this way. Today I want to talk about. It's not important for me, the examiner, to know what you want to talk about. You just want to talk about it, okay? So instead of starting that way, you want to start with a few days ago, I rescheduled my IELTS exam. That should be your first sentence, okay? So a few days ago, I rescheduled my IELTS exam. That's how you want to start. Okay, and then you want to tell me when it was scheduled for, who was involved in this process, right? So maybe you had to call one of the IELTS administrators, you had to go to the test center and talk to a person there to reschedule it. Okay, you had to discuss it with your parents. the reason why. So go into details rather than giving general kind of memorized responses. You'll get a much better score. Okay? All right.
Okay.
So really, really pay attention to that. Now, when you get stuck, so this is kind of the same advice as with Jashan. It's one of the most common advice that I give to people is look at your notes and look at the questions. Okay, so how did this affect you? For example, you didn't really clearly answer the how did this affect you, right? So I guess that because you had to reschedule your IELTS exam, this also delayed your university application. So instead of starting your university in September of 2022, you will now be starting university January of 2023, right? So how does this affect your life, right? This also decreased stress and the pressure I had to do an early IELTS exam. So now I feel more confident that I have more time to prepare for the IELTS exam. So you can really spend a lot of time on each of these questions if you think about it carefully. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay. And then what can you do to avoid a similar situation from happening in the future? So can you answer that question instead of me giving you the answer here? So in the future, what can you do to avoid having to reschedule an exam?
Well, before discussion the exam, we need to do our research and find the and after researching, we can choose the deadline that we know we need to take our exam. I think that will be the better way.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. That's great. Now remember, keep it to yourself. So not you and not we, but I. So in the future, I should do more research so I have a better idea of the exam requirements. This way I can set a better schedule and I can give myself enough time to prepare adequately, and then I can be confident and I don't have to delay the exam or the applications. Exactly. So, but just keep it to yourself, okay? So make sure you don't go into the you and we, but stay with the I, me, my for this part, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right, that was really, really good, okay? And again, the mistakes that you were making, a lot of people make similar mistakes, okay? So keep practicing and good luck on your exam, okay?
Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
You're very, very welcome, my one, and I hope you have a fantastic evening in Turkey. Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that was my one. My one did a really good job, all right? And brave, brave volunteers. That's how it works. And again, students, these are very common mistakes that I've seen many candidates make where they just don't look at the card and they don't look at the notes. Now, I know in these live classes it's a little bit trickier because you don't actually have the questions in front of you. So for the next live class, what you can do, students, for part 2 is you can write out the questions at the beginning of class, take some notes, and then really kind of copy the real exam situation. Okay, everyone, that's it for this part 2, but don't worry. We have our part 3 class coming up next after a short break, so we've got about a little bit less than a half-hour break, and then we have speaking part 3 coming up that will continue from this speaking part 2 topic. Students, if you liked the student partner speaking session that you heard right now, you can always book a speaking interview practice with me by clicking this yellow speaking interview practice. It's paid. It's a full 30-minute session. You get to do a whole speaking interview, and I give you feedback, corrections, and advice, so you can use that. Okay, I'll be back in 25 minutes with speaking part 3. Everybody will be able to join this speaking part 3 session. So make sure to come back after a short break. Thank you so much for being with me in this class. I will be back soon. I'm Adrian. I'm signing out from Victoria for now. Catch you soon.